Hi guys, welcome to my review of the Formula 1 World Championship Round 3, the Hungarian Grand Prix. And yeah, obviously it's the Hungaroring. We all know how great Hamilton is around Hungaroring. It with 7 victories already. So he was big favourite going into this weekend. Now I predicted that Red Bull would be a lot closer to Mercedes this time, given the fact that usually the Hungaroring has always suited their car. But for some reason, that they seem to be lacking pace, and that they were even struggling with the Ferraris to even match the Ferraris' pace, um, which was astonishing. Um, and this is the thing, what we've seen for the last 3 rounds is that Ferrari ain't been able to get the pace that they need. Which has been questionable since 2019, the end of 2019, after they clarified the rules with the engines. For some strange reason, after they did that, there was a significant drop in power from those Ferrari power cars. So something tells me they were fiddling about with the rules that they shouldn't have been. But yeah, so it just shows that at the last first 3 races that people have been struggling to get their cars to work on each circuit, and the only team that's been able to produce the perfect car again is Mercedes. Now everyone's starting to moan at the fact that, oh well, I don't watch F1 anymore. It's always Mercedes dominating this stuff. What do you want them to do? Unfortunately, it's the competition. It's up to the competition to do it, to compete with them, right? They're just producing the best car, and unfortunately, the rest of the grid ain't been able to. Now, in other news, during the weekend, there was other news. So, yeah, there was other news where Racing Point started to come under protest by Renault. Now, there's been a big thing about Racing Point's new 2020 car that is literally an exact copy of last year's Mercedes. Now, apparently in the rules, anything outside the car you can take photos of and not and design it through photos, not through designs or information. Switch between one team to another. You can do so. You can take a picture of the Mercedes, do the outline drawing on a massive bit of A3, or if you've blown up the picture, right, with all the details, right, and then send it off and start designing the car. What you can't do is get information from the team itself on specific parts of the car to make them identical. Now, Renault have protested about Racing Point's brake ducts, because the brake ducts they've got are an exact copy of Mercedes' last year's brake ducts. Now, they're saying you can't do that for a photo, because you can't, because there's a tyre on top of it. You can only do that through information given by the team. Now, if this is true, Racing Point will be deemed illegal and will have to change the brake ducts. Whether they keep their points, don't know. But unless Racing Point have actually, during the last season or something, gone to or looked at last season's photos throughout the weekend, looked at Mercedes when they're in the garage, took a picture of the brake duct whilst the tyre's been off, then they're fine. So this investigation is going to carry on for, I think, the next couple of weeks. So we won't know the results and the actual result of the investigation. But it's like the same with, okay, so if Racing Point have done that, Why is it Haas are doing that? Because if you look at the Haas, for example, and their steering wheel, it's exactly the same as the Ferraris. Exactly the same design. Haas get certain parts from Ferrari as well as the engine. They build certain parts that are similar to the Ferrari. Right? You can buy certain parts from Mercedes, from Ferrari, AlphaTauri can buy parts from the Red Bull. You can buy certain parts, but some parts you can't. You can't. You've got to design yourself, um, and that's been since 2010. After Toro Rosso used to build an exact copy of Red Bull's current car, and they said you can't do that anymore. You've got to build your own. You can have certain parts, but you've got to build your own. So, because it's not fair on the other teams, right? So, yeah, it's one of those. It's all the political drama of Formula One, as well as the astounding technology that's in it. So we'll have to wait and see where that comes from, but and what comes from that. So going into the qualifying, um, given practice and the way everyone has been going in practice, it looked like it was going to be a comfortable afternoon for Mercedes, and it proved to be. Them two fight. It was between Bottas and Hamilton fighting it out for pole again, but Bottas, despite his best efforts, could not beat Hamilton, his Mercedes, and how good he is around Hungaroring, claiming another pole position, his 90th pole position in Formula One, compared to the original record set by Michael Schumacher is with 69. Hamilton is just breaking records for fun. He is just breaking records for fun now, right? And it's just unrelenting. Um, so yeah, so Hamilton got pole. Sorry. Just double check the results again. I need to start learning to do this before the video. Stephen, you're on a pillock. You should do this before the start of every video. Racing past Hungaroring. Qualifying results. So yeah. So Hamilton, Bottas first and second. Stroll, and this is how much the Red Bull was off. The two Pink Panthers got third and fourth. Racing Point, which is probably why Renault are protesting, because that's their rivals. Vettel and Leclerc got fifth and sixth in the Ferraris. Then comes the first Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Albon only qualified 13th and got knocked back in Q2. And another shock was Russell was so close to getting 10th and getting into Q3 in the Williams, right? Qualifying 12th. Latifi 15th. First time Williams have been outside the top, qualified out of Q1 since 2018. So a massive achievement for them. So and the two McLarens were behind Verstappen, with Norris out qualifying his teammate in 8th. So as you can see, it was all set up to be just a comfortable afternoon for Mercedes. But for Bottas, it wasn't. He nearly jumped the start, but just stopped moving in time because there's a sensor on the floor, and if you run over that sensor, right, you've jumped the start. And he just missed it, so he didn't jump it. But it meant he had to pull the clutch back in, and then the lights went out, so he was delayed. So he got a really bad start, which meant he dropped down to fourth, and left Hamilton to just carry on and do whatever. I forgot to mention before the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, then following him up, got up into second, because it started off in the wet. Max Verstappen nearly didn't take the start at all. After, on the way to the grid, he slid off the circuit and hit the barriers, breaking the wishbone and the trap rod. If he'd broken any more part of the suspension, he would have been finished. But he'd just broken enough that he'd been able to replace that on the grid, just in time for the race. So he managed to take the start. So he was following Hamilton in second after a brilliant start. Leclerc, I believe, was third, and then Bottas was fourth. And it was, again, the track drying out. It was then a matter of when was the right time to pit, and which tyre would be beneficial when you go on it. Because by that point, when you start on wets, you can choose whatever tyre you like and finish whatever tyre you like. You don't have to use both super compounds or dry tyre. So, and Mercedes just judged it to perfection. Hamilton just drove an absolute perfection masterclass champions drive. Just an absolute masterclass. Dominated that that race. Absolutely dominated it. No one go near him. Whilst everyone else struggled behind, and even to the point he had such an advantage by the end of the Grand Prix. He had a whole pit stop in front of him, which meant he could pit at the end of the race, put on a set of soft tyres, and go for fastest lap and get the extra point. Such as his dominance in his Grand Prix, and it just proves again why he is the favourite and he is the six-time world champion. And how he not got driver of the day, I don't know. 'Cause to me, that was driver of the day drive. Everyone else had little struggles here and there. Even when they had, even though the drive itself was good, but he had no problems whatsoever at all. So Hamilton, pole position, fastest lap, Grand Prix victory, right? Grand Slam, hat trick, and driver of the day, in my opinion. So, and behind him in the end, Verstappen came second, and Bottas third, and with Stroll fourth, Albon recovering greatly from 13th to 5th, Vettel in 6th, Perez 7th, so after a great qualifying, they didn't have such a good race. Ricciardo in 8th, Sainz 9th, and Magnussen clinged on to a point ahead of Leclerc in 10th, which I think gets Haas off the mark in terms of points. And from where they started from, which was at the bottom of the grid, was some achievement. Because what they did was, before the start of the race, they decided to take to the pit lane, because they were starting at the back anyway, and switch to dry tyres. And it paid dividends. So, yeah. And unfortunately, again, despite great performances in qualifying, the two Williams ended up 18th and 19th. So, yeah, unfortunately, the race pace not quite living up to qualifying pace for Williams. So, yeah, that's my review of the Grand Prix. Round I think there's 2 weeks now till the British Grand Prix round 4. Then there'll be a week's break until we go back to Silverstone for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, and then I think it's off to Belgium after that. So yeah, so let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with driver of the day? Who is your best drive out of the weekend? What? Leave me your thoughts and opinions on the protest between Renault and Racing Point. Do you feel Racing Point have broken the rules, or do you feel that they're quite justified in building a exact copy? If you like this video, smash a like on this video and get those likes up. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, and I'll be back with a preview to the British Grand Prix not this week, next week. So yeah, keep an eye out for that next week, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care, stay safe.